Good morning, everybody. I was looking online for a resource to show you guys to help walk you through some of the basic household tools, different kinds of screwdrivers and screws, what's the difference between a nail and a screw and a nut and a wrench and an Allen wrench and all of that. And everything I could find online, excuse me, was really meant for professional builders and handymen with 16 kinds of important screwdrivers, and that was just way too much. So I am in my garage. Welcome to my garage, and I'm gonna walk you through some of just the basics, and you can see down here I have them all laid out. So if you're ready, here we go. We're gonna start with hammer. This is a hammer. This has a specific kind of head, a gripped head, which means that if I'm using this hammer and I miss, like if I'm putting a nail in a wall and I miss, I'm gonna get this pattern in that wall or in the wood or whatever I am. So this actually we keep in our garage. We use it for when we're doing some things outside and stuff. It's big. As you can see, it's like as long across as my shoulders, and it's reasonably heavy. We have a much smaller one that we use for small nails in the house, and this is our outside one that we keep in the garage. This is also nice and heavy. The heavier the hammer, the more like oomph the hammer itself has without you having to really swing your arm. And you can see this one's also old and it's been used a lot, but it has a smooth head, and this is a little more typical. So this is the end we hammer with, and this is the end, if you haven't ever done it, that you get nails out with. Hammers are used with nails, which brings us to the difference between a nail and a screw. This is a nail. The head is flat, meant to be hit with something heavy like a hammer. It's pointed at the bottom to drive into whatever it's going into, and this is what we call the shaft. Head and the shaft. The shaft is smooth. This is a screw. In this case, on most screws, the tip is also pointed, but it has these little threads going around it. And it's not meant to be hit and like that, it's meant to be turned. So the difference between a nail and a screw is you hit a nail, you turn a screw. This, by the way, is not a hammer. This is a mallet. It has two rubber sides, and this is what we use if we're trying to hit something in and we don't want to damage the wood, like if it's fine furniture or somehow soft or something, or if you don't usually use this on a nail. You might use it on something like a dowel or piece of wood. So if you are putting together IKEA furniture, you will see a lot of these. These are dowels, and they go into a pre-drilled hole like in the wood. And if you hit this with a hammer, it'll go in, but you could also split it or smash it. So you use something like this if you have it, a mallet. It's still heavy. It's still gonna, hurt if I bang my thumb with it, but it's got a softer head, so it won't split little dowels and things like that. So those are hammers and a mallet. And next we're going to move on to screws and screwdrivers. So I'm going to start you off with the basics. These are both screwdrivers. This is a flat head. Okay? It's flat, and if I turn it to the side for you, it's almost like a wedge or a chisel shape. That's a flat head. This is a Phillips head. This is the one with the little 4 points on it. Now, are there more kinds of screwdriver than this? Yes, there definitely are, but these are the basics. And if your parents ask you for a screwdriver, they're going to probably ask you for a flat head or a Phillips head. And if they ask you for a screwdriver and they don't tell you which one they want, you need to ask, because you can't really use these on the same kinds of screws. This screw takes a flat head. So this is actually a bolt, I apologize. The difference between a screw and a bolt is that typically bolts don't have a point. They go into pre-threaded holes, which means that the holes are already shaped with little like circular things inside that this fits evenly into. You don't usually drive this into a piece of wood or drywall or something by itself. You usually would use something with a point. Anyway, so this is a flathead, and it fits in just like this, and it turns. So, right? That's a flathead. If I were to take this flathead screwdriver on this little Phillips head screw, I'd have a real pain. It's not, even if I have I do have smaller flathead screwdrivers, but these don't match. So what I need is something like this that does match. And see, it actually will stay right on there. If it's the right size, it will match and it will stay, and that will help you turn. Okay, so Phillips head versus flathead. This is my little home kit full of lots of different sizes. You can see all the different widths and sizes of the different, here's the basic screwdriver body, and these all come out and just slot right into there. And you can see there's some tiny flatheads, there are some, right? There's some tiny, they go all the way up. We'll get to these in a minute. So since I showed you a bolt, screw has the little windy threads around it, and it has a point. A bolt typically does not. A bolt typically does come with a nut and or a washer. I'll show you a washer in a second. And these are threaded at the exact same like spacing. Like, so these threads are really close to each other, and these threads are wider apart. As you can see, this bolt would not fit this nut. They have to be the exact same circumference, and they have to have the same threading pattern. But this, so if this usually goes all the way through something. It's not pointed, because if it was pointed and it stuck out the other side, it would scrape you, right? So this is flat, and you put the bolt on, and that's what helps hold it. Often, not always, but very, very often, you have to use a washer. This washer, this is a washer. It's just a little plain disc. It goes on first, and then the bolt is screwed on. I don't know what washers do. I just know that a lot of times you need it. I think they somehow help hold things tight, but I don't know. But so that's a nut, a washer, and a bolt. These I got out just to show you. These little guys, now they look like they're threaded like a screw, but they're not a screw, they're a drywall anchor. So if you're hanging something up in drywall is actually really soft. It tears really easily, and you can break it by trying to hang things that are too heavy. So very often, if you buy a shelf or a large picture frame or something like that, it might come with screws, and it might also come with drywall anchors, and you put these in first. Next, we're going to move on to wrenches. So, here are two kinds of wrenches. This one, and I have a whole bunch up here. So these come in different sizes for different kinds of things, and they also have those little doohickeys down there. I've never really used that end for much. This is an adjustable one, so you can, if I screw this, it gets bigger and smaller, and this is really good. You put it on, you screw it till it fits, and then you can turn. So these are just regular old wrenches. This is an Allen wrench, and you will recognize this. This is an Allen wrench. It's the kind of thing that comes with IKEA furniture and all sorts of other things that are do-it-yourself. So if you look at the end of this, it's a hexagon. And what that means is that sometimes you will get something that looks like a screw at first, but at the top, it doesn't take a Phillips or a flathead. It takes an Allen wrench. So you see how it fits perfectly. And then when you're screwing it, you kind of just turn this, and it's nice because it gives you a lot of leverage. You get these kinds of things with build your own furniture and things like that all the time. I have a whole collection of them. I have ones like this. I have ones like this. I don't know. This is for getting into certain little areas and such. I have big ones like this with a Phillips head on one end. It's like a double tool. I can use it that way or that way. I have lots of them. And then the last thing I want to show you are socket wrenches. So this is my set of socket wrenches. And this is what I break out if I need to adjust the seat or handlebars on my son's bike or things like that. So sometimes you have shapes like this. It's indented a tiny bit, but it's a circle. You're not going to get anything inside this to turn it. You need something that goes around the outside of it, okay? And what you need is a socket wrench. So, sorry, they're in there really tight, which is nice. It means they don't fall all over the place. This is the handle, and it has a little switch here. And what happens is that it will turn easily one way, and then it won't turn the other. If I need to turn the other way, I flip this little switch. And what that does is if you want something to turn this way and you're putting the pressure on, it locks, and then it goes easily back to there. So you don't have to take it off. With these, if you put it on, you have to turn, take it off, readjust it, and turn, right? With this, you turn, and you don't have to take it off every time. So I have this big puppy, and I'm going to see if I can quickly find the head that would fit it. A little too big. Sorry, I'm just digging them out. There you go, that one fits perfectly. So the heads that you put on the wrench look like this. It's got this little square hole, right, with a square peg, and you just put it on there and it locks in place. And then this fits right in there, and right, and if I need to do it the other way, I just switch that for tightening and loosing. So socket wrench versus regular wrench versus Allen wrench. And these tools are ones that most of your families probably have around the house and that get used for fixing and repairing and doing things. And I hope this was helpful if this is the kind of stuff that you've never really worked with before. Have a great week.